All right, thank you guys for coming back. And so this time we are reflecting over the y-axis. So let's start by getting those pre-image or those original points. So A is at -6 and -3. Remember, you do the x-axis first and then the y. I see people mess up on that all the time. B is going to be at -2, -3, and C is at -6 and 5. When we reflect over the y-axis, remember we changed the opposite letters sign, so we're changing the sign of the x. So we're going to make that A prime, and our x changes from -6 to +6. And we keep that as -3. Our -2 changes, so it's going to be +2, and our y stays the same. And then our C prime, our x changes to a +6, and our y will stay as a +5. And we can go ahead and plot those points to make sure that we have them properly labeled. So A prime, B prime, and C prime, remember those primes mean that it is the image or the new figure. And now we can connect them, ignore the fact that my lines are not very straight, but imagine if they were straight, then this image would be an exact replication of this one, just flipped over. So a reflection is that flip. All right, next we have this idea of rotating 90 degrees clockwise. And rotations are sometimes a little bit difficult. Now, when we rotate 90 degrees clockwise, so if we think about a graph, and we have a point right here, if we're going 90 degrees clockwise, the point would go into this quadrant. Now, we can also say that we're going 270 degrees counterclockwise. So these two statements here mean the exact same thing. So if you turn to the right and you go clockwise, then that is the same as going to the left and doing 90 degrees or 270 degrees counterclockwise. So this one's 90 degrees, and that's 270 degrees, but that's counterclockwise, and this one is clockwise. And so whenever we're doing either of those rotations, then we're going to swap the x and the y. So notice that the y is in the position that the x was in, and the x is in the position of the y. And you also want that original x to have their sign changed. So if we look over here, our pre-image was at -1 and 1. We know that we're going 90 degrees clockwise, right? That's what we're working on right now. Or 270 degrees counterclockwise. But we know our answer what needs to be in this quadrant right here. You'll remember from Mr. Sarah's lesson earlier that this quadrant is both positive and positive, right? So we learned that last week. And so if they're both positive, you can also, even if you forget this rule, remember that your solution needs to be where the x and the y are positive. Now, if you're going 90 or 270, then we always swap the x and the y. So in this case, that negative is going to change to a positive, and then we flip them, so it would still stay as 1 and 1. And that's our A prime. I keep on forgetting those primes. Our B prime, we change the sign of the x, and then we swap the x and the y, so it's going to be 4 and 1. And our C prime, we change the sign of the x, and we swap the x and y, so it's going to be 1 and 3. Sorry, there's not a whole lot of space here. So we have 1 and 3. That was our C prime that we just got. 4 and 1 is our B prime. And then 1 and 1 is our A prime. Ooh, that is a mess, but you kind of got the idea of the shape. So it's really gone and fallen on its side. So that is 90 degrees clockwise. Let's try this rotation of 180 degrees. Now, when we're going 180 degrees, so if we think about our coordinate plane, let's say that we're starting here, 180 degrees would take us to this quadrant. So no matter if we're going clockwise or counterclockwise, you're still going to end up in the same spot. So both ways, then you're getting to 180 degrees. And so let's think of this example. So if we're going to 180 degrees, we want to end up in this quadrant.